another thing you guys have been doing a lot is you've been working very closely with TAITO. And in this case, it's almost like you're helping bring back this company to the forefront in the West. TAITO made a lot of amazing games back in the day. They were huge in the arcades. They had a great home library as well. But obviously, those times had passed for a while. But TAITO has kind of resurfaced in recent years, and there's been some amazing releases. Like one of my favorites actually is, I guess it's the Ninja Saviors Return of the Ninja Warriors, or the Ninja Warriors Once Again, as it's also known in Japan. This is seriously one of the best action games released, I'd say, in years. Like, it takes what was great about the original Super NES game, which, by the way, the original is very expensive as well.
Yep.
And they've greatly enhanced it. And this is just one of the games that you guys have done with them. So actually, like, again, tell us about how you formed this relationship with TAITO.
Actually, as I mentioned before, Turrican was my second game on Amiga. I mean, I started as a home computer fan, and then I turned to the consoles afterwards with Mega Drive and such. And my first game was Rainbow Islands on Amiga.
Oh, of course.
So, yeah, I really loved the TAITO games, and TAITO basically, nearly every game TAITO put out was awesome in some way or in every way. So I'm
surprised you haven't done the New Zealand story yet, since I've learned since moving here that the New Zealand story was very popular in Germany for some reason. Yeah. I don't know why. It's pretty good, but it's weird.
I played it. I can't count the hours I played it back then. I really enjoyed New Zealand story. I still remember the track now that you're mentioning it. Yeah. So. Yeah, when we met TAITO, or the representatives of TAITO, it was at the Tokyo Game Show, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
We first met at Tokyo Game Show, and back then we didn't even know how it will turn out, because we are we were a smaller publisher in Germany, and back then they were mostly focusing on their game centers in Japan.
Yeah, that's right.
So basically their development department was in deep sleep, let's say, because they didn't bring out any new console games or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, like the last big one I remember was Darius Burst on PSP, which I imported back in the day, and then it just kind of felt like they tailed off for a long time.
Yeah, and but 2 years ago they announced that they want to get back to the home console market, and it was just a great timing. And we were happy to meet them and discuss with them what we could imagine how to bring their games to the Western audience, and to share our ideas with them. And fortunately, it turned out to become a good partnership.
That's great. So, I mean, you've got Ninja Saviors, you did Bobble 4, which is quite excellent. And then as well, the Darius stuff. Darius series, amazing. So this was actually a really good example of what you guys are doing. So the original Darius collection released for Switch, there was only a physical version, only in Japan, in very limited kind of quantity. You couldn't even buy this game digitally, but it basically brought back the original games, complete with this ultra wide presentation, which actually works really well on a large modern screen. But you guys actually brought this to the West and made it a lot more accessible to everybody. So how did that happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed with TAITO that how to bring it to the Western audience, and our intention was to make everything available on card or disc to the fans. So we came up with 2 collections again, one featuring the arcade games, and one featuring the console games. In Japan, there was basically only the arcade games released as a single release, and then there was a collector's edition with pretty much all of the games.
Which was super hard to, that was the super expensive and difficult to get a hold of version.
Yeah, so. Actually I bought that as well, but it's nothing that we wanted to do for the Western audience as well. We wanted to have a traditional limited release without all the gimmicks for those who want to just play these games in physical form and keep them in their shelves. And then we also created the collector's edition. So people had the choice or have the choice. They can just buy the game, they can just buy the arcade collection, they can just buy the console Darius games on one collection, or they can
the whole deluxe thing.
Go with the.
That's actually one of the cool things is for a lot of these TAITO games, you guys have been doing this here, which is essentially mimicking the original packaging that the arcade PCBs would have shipped in back in the day.
Yeah.
You even have the old TAITO logo there. So on here on the side, and TAITO there as well, which is this is really cool. Like, how the heck did this come about?
Yeah, we really wanted to add some huge art book, but we didn't want to get away from our, let's say, like from our collector's boxes.
Oh, right.
They have a special size.
It's almost like a series, basically.
Yeah, because
boxes,
every
line up perfectly.
Every collection exactly lines up perfectly, so we didn't want to change that. I mean, some are thicker because we add more content to it.
Right.
But we didn't want to change it, so we came up with the idea of these retro PCB boxes. By doing so, we were able to add like the hardcover art book and such, because we wouldn't have been able to add the hardcover art books, and we didn't want to make it smaller.
That's right. This wouldn't have actually fit in there, and it's everything in here. Oh yeah, this is beautifully printed out. You get some interviews in here, both in Japanese and English, which is great.
Yeah, we helped with the translation. I mean, we took the Japanese version, the Japanese book, and then helped with the translation. Optimized the layout because our size differs slightly from the Japanese version.
It's a really nicely put together book, and it's great to have that fully in English, and it fits right in this package.
Few months ago, I was really happy to see a live stream from M2 from Japan.
Oh yeah,
where they were unboxing one of our collections.
I saw that.
This was a huge moment.
Hori-san, I think, actually opened it up on there. That's really great. Yeah, because you guys have obviously worked with M2 because they did a lot of the actual legwork on some of these collections.
Yeah,
including I think the next Darius collection. That actually includes a remake of
Darius, which is also being developed by M2.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
how's that coming along?
Yeah, this is something. TAITO also tries to bring back their old IPs, just like with Turrican. I mean, if you want to make a new version, you should first bring back your heritage to the memories of the fans. And the TAITO decided to bring back first the 2D games of the Darius series.
Right, of course.
The console versions, the arcade versions. And then the next step was basically to bring back the 3D games of their series. And then Darius is one of the finest PlayStation 1 shoot-em-ups I have in my collection, I think, of the 3D.
Yeah, it's really good, absolutely.
And it plays very well, and so M2 created a HD version of it, which is really, really great. It turned out to become really, really good.
Yeah, it also fixes some of the technical flaws in the original game, because the PlayStation 1 version, it's pretty good, but it does still have quite a bit of slowdown. So being able to play this now with a smoother frame rate, that really helps out, and it's looking like it's turning out great. So yeah, the Darius stuff's really cool. I'm a big fan of that series as well, but I also love did this Bobble stuff here as well, which this is Bobble 4 with friends, is it? And this is the same kind of thing. And I think there was another really nice art book in here. Pop this open real quick, take a look. Yeah, here it is, the compendium of Bobble. I love this. And so I really like these full-size books, actually, that you guys have been doing. And it's a lot of really good, there's a lot of concept art, there's promotional material in here, a lot of other design documents and specifications. It really kind of gives you a look into, the development behind these games. So you guys put this out then this year, and you have another Bobble game, I think, in the works as well. Or can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, when we did this back then, again, we put a lot of time into the translation of everything, because, of course, not all of our customers can read Japanese, so we had to make sure that they can read it. yeah, we think it's important to bring as much content from Japan to the Western audience.
I like that a lot. Yeah, exactly. Like some of the stuff, it's been accessible or mildly inaccessible depending in Japan, but getting it properly translated and brought over to the West in a way that doesn't compromise what it originally was.
Yeah.
Like you're not simplifying it for the West, that was a problem in the past, especially with production value stuff where like, I remember, Japanese games get these lavish versions released with all this nice stuff, and then you get the Western version. It's always like a stripped down, simplified version. So it seems like you guys are really focused on doing it the right way, or the original way, I guess we should say.
Absolutely. This is super important. Again, as we are fans ourselves and collectors ourselves, we don't want to make any trade-off. It's very important to provide the fans with the items they deserve. So we really want to add everything that we can. And if for example, with the Darius Cosmic Revelation, if we can add additional content to the book, like additional articles contributed by Western influencers, fans like you, John, then it's great. I think it's very important to have a Western point of view added to these books as well, and that works wonderfully with TAITO. They are super open to these ideas, and we have a very good relationship.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's actually one of the best things about all this is that. For a while, a lot of these sort of like retail or like physical versions of games, there was a lot of just focus on Western indie games, which I love Western indie games, don't get me wrong. But I think it's really cool that you guys are digging into like Japanese history and bringing back some of these classic games or like new versions of them as well, and bringing along with it all this kind of material. So that's really great to see. And there is a new version of this on the way as well, right? Can you talk about that? Is that the Indian release, or is there another collector's edition coming?
When we released this version, it wasn't decided. We didn't know about that there would be a huge content update coming. Actually, nobody knew it because it was decided later on that the game, as it was very successful, deserved an expansion basically to make it last even longer. So we said, okay, we don't want to do a strictly limited version of Baroness Beck only. So again, here we decided to split between releases that are being done in retail, traditional brick and mortar shops and online stores, and strictly limited releases which are exclusively available at Strictly Limited. We didn't do that before, but that's where we said, okay, we need to split it to make sure that the people know what they will be getting. So from then on, our Strictly Limited releases are only available on Strictly Limited, and there's no retail version planned. And the partner store releases, for example, are a good place to also offer games where a retail version is planned, but we want to add additional content. With Bobble, it was a bit difficult because back then it was our first release of this kind, or the second release of this kind. So
right.
So this was not properly separated back then, but so that's why we had the PlayStation version, the PlayStation 4 release, also in the Bobble retro design package and everything, to have something for the Bobble PlayStation 4 fans, for friends who really want this type of treatment and not just getting the retail version. So we created this special version for the PlayStation 4 release, but other than that, or despite that, there's also the in release from our sister company, which is a traditional retail release. But it was very important for us that the PS4 customers also have the option to get the art book and everything. So we had to make an exception and release it in the same way as we did the Switch version. And but of course everybody will get the huge content update, but not all people want to have it as a download version. So
it's just a way to basically offer the complete thing as a package.
Yeah,
and I get that. Yeah, because that's one of the big problems today is with games receive online updates, and it's difficult to preserve that necessarily. Yeah. So being able to get like a final version with all the content, extra, all that stuff in there, I think that's really important. So it's a unique situation here in the way this came out, but I think it's actually going to be better in the end.
Yeah, and that's why we decided to, together with TAITO, that we will be offering a special upgrade version for the customers who bought the Bobble for Friends at Strictly Limited back then, so that if they want to, they can get the physical version with the full update on cartridge. But this is something we will announce during our birthday party, basically, later on.